Hello friends, welcome to the HFY Ode, where we bring you new science fiction stories, a new world, a new adventure. And yes, there is no robotic or AI voices here, only real human voices with real human touch. So let's start this journey, and please subscribe my channel if you like the stories and press the bell icon for the latest updates. Let's have a story. Okay.
They wanted a killer who wouldn't ask questions. They got a man who'd forgotten how to stay dead. The Ascendancy Hall smelled like ozone and old power. Galactic stood at the viewing platform, his chromatic scales shifting through frustrated purples as he watched the assembled candidates below. 63 warriors from 42 species, each one a proven killer in their respective militaries. Each one inadequate. The human arrives in 7 minutes, his aide whispered. Galactic's eye stalks rotated independently, a gesture that meant something between contempt and resignation among his people. The human. Because that's what the war had come to. Scraping the bottom of the galactic barrel for warm bodies to throw at the Vrex incursion. The Terran Protectorate had offered one of their special operators as tribute to the Ascendancy's champion selection. One human. As if a single representative from that backwater rock could matter in a contest designed to find the deadliest warrior in known space. The other candidates moved through their preliminary trials below. A chromath with 4 arms that could each crush stone. A silicant whose body reformed after taking plasma fire. A Threne whose nervous system operated at 12 times standard galactic baseline, making her faster than most species could perceive. The human would die in the first trial. Galactic had seen Terrans before. Brittle bones. Thin skin that tore like cheap fabric. Single-threaded consciousness that shut down from the mildest neural disruption. They compensated with tools and numbers the way prey species always did. Clever tool users. Adequate pilots. Mediocre ground combatants at best. The hall's entrance dilated. He walked in like he owned the floor. Not swaggering. That would have been easier to dismiss. The human moved with the kind of relaxed precision that made Galactic's secondary heart skip. Loose shoulders, eyes already mapping exits and sight lines. Standard issue Terran combat utilities that looked like they'd been through a war or 7, clean, but worn in the way that spoke to actual use. Average height for his species. Medium build. Brown hair cropped short in the military fashion humans favored. Nothing remarkable. Nothing threatening. Nothing that explained why Galactic's throat sac was tightening. The human reached the registration platform and placed his palm on the bioscanner. Name, the processing AI intoned. Marcus Cole. His voice matched his walk. Flat. Factual. Like reading from a maintenance checklist. Species designation. Homo sapiens. Terran. Combat d'Isiation. Forward reconnaissance. Echo Division. Galactic pulled up the file on his data slate. Echo Division meant special operations in Terran military parlance. Better than standard infantry, but nothing compared to the elite formations of the Chromath Void Guard or the Silicon Eternal Legion. Confirmed eliminations in combat. Cole paused, just for a heartbeat. The kind of pause that civilian observers would miss, but made every veteran in the hall pay attention. None documented, Cole said. Several candidates turned to stare. The chromath laughed, which sounded like rocks tumbling down a mountainside. A soldier with no kills? The Threne's voice came out at supersonic frequencies, translated down into audible range by the hall systems. Did Earth send us a clerk? Cole didn't react. Didn't turn his head. His eyes stayed on the processing station like the mockery existed in a different dimension he couldn't access. Confirmed eliminations. The AI repeated with the patience of non-sentient programming. 0 documented. Training certifications. The list scrolled. Standard Terran infantry qualifications. Small unit tactics. Environmental survival. Void combat basique. Nothing exotic. Nothing that screamed galactic champion material. Processing complete. Proceed to holding area. Cole moved off without acknowledging the other candidates. He found a corner with good sight lines to both entrances and settled against the wall in a posture that managed to be both relaxed and ready. Caltrix watched him for longer than he meant to. Sir, his aide's voice brought him back. Your assessment? He'll be eliminated in the first trial, Caltrix said. Dead or withdrawn. Humans don't have the resilience for what we're about to do to them. But he pulled up Cole's file again anyway. The full dossier painted the expected picture. Born in the Detroit Reclamation Zone on Earth. Enlisted at 18. Deployed to the periphery conflicts. Fast-tracked into special operations. Standard service record up until 3 years ago. Then, the file went strange. For 18 months, Cole had been listed as Detached Duty Training Command. No deployment. No combat postings. Just training. The notation repeated every 30 days, like clockwork. Training. 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 After that, a 6-month blank. Then, he'd volunteered for the Ascendancy selection. Pull his medical records, Caltrix ordered. Sir, that requires special authorization from pull them. The aide scales flickered orange with stress, but he complied. The medical file opened. It was redacted. Whole sections blacked out by Terran military intelligence. But what remained made Caltrix's primary heart do something it hadn't done in 40 years of military service. It stuttered. The psychological evaluation header was still visible. Subject exhibits extreme dissociation from mortality concerns. Recommend continued monitoring for suicidal ideation. Below that, a fragment from a physical assessment. Neural scarring consistent with repeated trauma-death response cycles. Cause uncertain. Subject refuses elaboration. And at the bottom, a single note from the examining physician. I don't know how he's still standing. Caltrix closed the file. Below, the trials were beginning. The first test was simple, brutal, but simple. Each candidate would enter an isolation chamber. The environment would attempt to kill them through a randomized series of threats. Atmospheric toxins, radiation, gravitational stress, neural disruption, temperature extremes. The trial continued until the candidate either adapted or signaled surrender. Survival meant advancement. Surrender meant elimination. Death meant death. The silicate went first. Its crystalline form endured 17 different environmental attacks over the course of 4 hours before the trial ended. Impressive. The chromoth lasted 9 hours, its redundant biological systems compensating for threats that would have killed most species in minutes. The Threen managed 2 hours through pure speed and reaction time, dodging threats faster than they could manifest. Then, it was Cole's turn. He walked into the isolation chamber without ceremony. The door sealed. The observation feed activated. The first threat came within seconds. Atmospheric composition shifted to pure chlorine gas. Lethal to humans within 2 minutes of exposure. Cole's vitals spiked on the monitor. Heart rate accelerating. Respiration increasing. Classic panic response. He didn't signal surrender. He just stood there, breathing poison, dying. He's having a seizure, someone said. Get him out. Let Cole raise his hand. Not the surrender gesture. Just raised it, fingers spread, like he was counting something only he could see. The atmospheric composition shifted again. Nitrogen oxide. Different poison. Same result. Cole dropped to one knee. His body was shutting down. The medical monitor screamed warnings. He stood back up. Radiation next. Hard gamma burst that should have turned his cells into soup. He took it. Kept standing. His skin should have been sloughing off. Should have been screaming. His face never changed. What is he doing? Caltrix heard himself say. The threats escalated. Gravitational compression, neural static, temperature swings from flash freeze to kiln heat. Cole took them all. His body failed. His vitals flatlined twice. The automated medical system prepared to extract his corpse. He kept standing. 7 hours in, the trial ended. Not because Cole surrendered, because the isolation chamber exhausted its threat protocols. The door opened. Cole walked out. Not staggered. Not crawled. Walked. His utilities were scorched, and his skin was covered in chemical burns and radiation lesions, but he moved like a man coming back from a light jog. He made eye contact with Caltrix through the observation window, and smiled. Not the smile of someone who'd survived. The smile of someone who'd been through this before. Many times before, the medical team swarmed him with regeneration gear. Standard protocol: patch the candidates up between trials. But the attending physician stopped mid-scan. "Sir," she called up to the observation deck. "You need to see this." Caltrix descended to the medical bay. The physician pulled up Cole's tissue analysis. "These scars," she said, pointing to the neural scan, "they're not from the trial. They're old. Weeks old at minimum. But they're consistent with the exact types of damage he just sustained." "Explain." "He's been exposed to these specific threats before. Recently. Repeatedly." She pulled up another scan. "His cellular structure shows adaptation markers. His body has learned to anticipate these specific forms of stress." "How is that possible?" The physician looked at Cole, who was letting the medical techs work on him with the patient indifference of someone who'd been through the process 1,000 times. "I don't know," she said, "but I don't think this is his first selection trial." Caltrix approached Cole directly. "You've done this before." It wasn't a question. Cole met his eyes. "Something like it. The ascendancy selection only happens once every 10 years. "I know." "Then what training?" Cole said. The word came out flat. Empty. Like he was naming a color. "Just training." "What kind of training leaves scars like this?" Cole's smile came back. Thinner this time. "The useful kind." He stood, waving off the medical team, even though they weren't finished. His burns were half-healed, skin still raw, and angry-looking, but he moved without favoring anything. "When's the next trial?" he asked. 6 hours, Caltrix said. "You need rest." "Recovery time, 6 hours." Cole nodded like Caltrix had given him a timetable, not a warning. "I'll be ready." He walked back to his corner of the holding area, settled against the wall, closed his eyes. Caltrix watched him for 10 seconds. 20. Waiting for some sign of pain, of trauma response, of anything that suggested he was human and not some kind of automaton in flesh. Cole's breathing never changed. Slow, deep, controlled, like a man sleeping, or a man conserving energy for the next death. The second trial began at the 6-hour mark. Combat assessment. Each candidate would face a combat AI in a sealed arena. The AI adapted in real time, learning from the candidate's tactics and exploiting weaknesses. It wouldn't stop until the candidate surrendered or became physically unable to continue. No weapons except what you could improvise from the arena itself. The Chromoth went first and lasted 43 minutes before the AI found the weak points in his armor plating and disabled him. The Silicant fought for 2 hours, reforming after each devastating hit, until the AI simply wore it down through attrition. The Threen was faster than the AI could track, but speed without strategy meant nothing. 70 minutes before her stamina gave out, Cole stepped into the arena. The AI manifested as a bipedal combat frame. Standard configuration. Adaptive learning enabled. It attacked immediately. Cole dodged left, rolled, came up empty-handed. The AI pressed, reading his movement patterns, calculating optimal strike vectors. It landed a hit, crushing blow to Cole's ribs. Caltrix heard them crack from the observation deck. Cole didn't react, didn't cry out, just absorbed the impact and kept moving. The AI adapted. Faster strikes. Angles that should have been impossible for a human to track. Cole tracked them anyway, not through speed. He wasn't faster than the Threen had been. He moved like someone who'd seen every possible variation of every possible attack, and knew exactly where the AI strike would land before the combat frame committed to it. He took hits. Brutal ones. His collarbone shattered. His jaw dislocated. Blood ran from a scalp wound that opened his forehead to the bone. He kept fighting. 20 minutes in, Cole got his hands on a piece of broken arena plating. Not much. Jagged metal the size of his palm. It was enough. He didn't rush. Didn't make desperate lunges. He waited. Bled. Took more hits. Then he moved. The strike came in low, faster than the AI predicted, angled into a seam in the combat frame's construction that shouldn't have been visible to human perception. The AI went down. Cole stood over it, bleeding from a dozen wounds, bones broken, breathing like a damaged engine. He dropped the metal plate. The arena door opened. He walked out. The medical team was waiting. They'd given up looking surprised. Cole submitted to treatment with the same patient indifference as before, letting them repair catastrophic damage like it was routine maintenance. How did you know where to strike? Caltrix asked. Cole was watching the medical scanner's readout like it was mildly interesting programming. Pattern recognition. The AI's combat style is randomized. There are no patterns. Everything has patterns. Cole's eyes stayed on the scanner. You just have to see them enough times. How many times have you fought something like that, AI? The pause came back. Longer this time. Don't remember, Cole said. Lost count. Caltrix felt something cold settle in his chest. In training. In training. What kind of training? Cole finally looked at him. His eyes were wrong. Not hostile. Not even particularly intense. Just empty in a way that made Caltrix's scales prickle. The kind that prepares you for this, Cole said. The third trial came 12 hours later. Mental resilience. Each candidate would be subjected to neural attacks designed to break their will, shatter their sense of self, force surrender through psychological rather than physical means. Most species had some defense. Partition consciousness, neural buffering, psychological conditioning. Humans had none of that. Their minds were single-threaded, fragile, prone to fracture under stress. Cole would break. Had a break. He entered the neural chamber. The door sealed. The attack began. Caltrix watched the monitors. The neural assault was calibrated to human brain architecture, inducing fear, despair, existential dread, the kind of psychological pressure that made soldiers eat their weapons and civilians walk into the sea. Cole's brain activity spiked. The attack was landing. His vitals showed the expected stress response. Elevated cortisol, adrenaline surge, fight or flight activation. He didn't fight, didn't flee. He sat down on the chamber floor, cross-legged, hands on his knees, like he was meditating. The neural assault intensified, wave after wave of chemically induced terror, phantom memories of death, hallucinations of failure. Every psychological weapon the Ascendancy had developed over 10,000 years of warfare. Cole sat there. His brain activity showed he was experiencing everything. The attacks were landing. His neural tissue was lighting up with trauma markers. He just didn't react. 1 hour. 2. 3. The neural assault system began throwing warnings. It was designed to break candidates in under an hour. Extended exposure could cause permanent damage. Cole's expression never changed. For hours in, Caltrix ordered the trial stopped. The door opened. Cole stood up, walked out. His hands weren't shaking. His eyes weren't dilated. He looked like someone who'd been waiting in a quiet room. What did you see in there? Caltrix asked. Cole thought about it. Nothing I haven't seen before. That's impossible. The neural assault is calibrated to your specific psychology. It manufactures your worst fears. I know. Then, how? Because I've died before, Cole said. His voice stayed flat, but something underneath it shifted. Something that might have been emotion if it hadn't been worn down to nothing through repetition. 70,000 times, give or take. You can't scare someone with death when they've already been through it. Can't break someone who's already broken and rebuilt themselves more times than they can count. The holding area went silent. Every candidate was listening now. The Chromath, the Silicant, the Threne, warriors from 42 species, each one among the deadliest fighters their people could produce. All of them staring at the human. That's not possible, the Threne said. Her voice came out at normal frequencies now, without the translation layer. Raw disbelief. How old are you? 29, Cole said. You can't have died 70,000 times in 29 years. Not in real combat. Cole's empty eyes swept the assembled candidates. In simulation. Training sims designed by people who wanted to create soldiers who couldn't be killed because they'd already learned every possible way to die. That's torture, someone said. That's graduation, Cole replied. Echo Division doesn't take volunteers. You get selected. You run the gauntlet. Most people break around death 500, so make it to 1,000 before they wash out. He paused. I made it to 70,000 before they ran out of ways to kill me. Caltrix felt his world tilt. Your people do this? Intentionally? My people are very good at finding the worst possible way to solve a problem. Cole's smile came back, sharper this time. We're also very good at surviving it. Why would any species subject their own to, because it works? Cole met Caltrix's eyes. You wanted the deadliest warrior you could find. Someone who wouldn't break, wouldn't quit, wouldn't hesitate. His smile widened. Congratulations. You found him. The remaining trials were almost anticlimactic. Cole didn't dominate, didn't overwhelm. He simply persisted. Every challenge the Ascendancy threw at him, he met with the same patient, methodical approach. Not fearless. Fear still showed in his vitals, but fear rendered meaningless through repetition. By the 8th trial, the other candidates had stopped being competitive. They were watching, studying, trying to understand. The Chromoth approached Cole between trials. This training, he rumbled. Do your people use it for all soldiers? Just special operations, Cole said. The ones they need to do things that sane people wouldn't survive. How many complete it? 1 in 50,000. Cole checked the burns on his forearm with clinical detachment. Give or take. And, you volunteer for this? Cole laughed. It was the first time Caltrix had heard him make that sound. It came out wrong, like his vocal cords had forgotten the muscle memory. Nobody volunteers, he said. They select you, test you, break you down into component pieces. Then, they put you back together wrong, deliberately wrong. So you're useful for the kind of missions that don't make it into official reports. That's inhuman. Yeah. Cole's eyes went distant. It is. The final trial arrived. Single elimination tournament. The last 8 candidates facing each other in direct combat until only one remained. Cole advanced through each round with the same grim efficiency. He took damage. Lots of it. But damage didn't matter when you'd been damaged. So many times your body treated it like weather. Something that happened. Something you endured. Something you ignored until it passed. The final match was against the Silicate, a being that couldn't die in any conventional sense, that reformed after taking hits that would have vaporized organic matter. Cole fought it for 6 hours. He couldn't kill it, couldn't even permanently damage it, but he could outlast it. The Silicant surrendered when it finally understood. The human would keep going until his body physically failed. No quit in him. No surrender reflex. Just the patient, grinding persistence of someone who'd learned to exist past every natural stopping point. When the trial ended, Cole was still standing. Barely. Caltrix descended to the arena floor. Cole was leaning against the wall, held upright more by stubbornness than muscle strength. Blood covered most of his uniform. His eyes were half closed. Congratulations, Caltrix said. You're the Ascendancy champion. Cole nodded. When do I deploy? You need medical treatment. Recovery time. Psychological evaluation, I asked when I deploy. Cole pushed off the wall. Swayed but stayed upright. That's what you selected me for. So when do I go kill whatever needs killing? Caltrix looked at this human. This broken, rebuilt, destroyed, and reassembled thing that his species had made. This weapon that wore the shape of a man. Tomorrow, he said quietly. You deploy tomorrow. Good. Cole started walking toward the medical bay. Stopped. Look back. One question. Ask. The Vrex you want me to fight. Do they die easy? Caltrix considered lying. Decided this human deserved truth. No. They're considered the most dangerous combat species in known space. Cole's smile came back. The empty one. Good, he said. I was worried this might be boring. He walked away. Caltrix stood in the empty arena, listening to the echo of human footsteps fade into distance. Somewhere above, his aide was preparing the official announcements. Earth's representative had won. The Ascendancy had its champion. But Caltrix couldn't shake the feeling that they'd made a terrible mistake. Not in selecting the human. In understanding what humanity considered acceptable training for their soldiers. 70,000 deaths. And Cole was just one of them. Caltrix pulled up the Terran military database, cross-referencing Echo Division's operational history. The records were heavily redacted, but some details bled through. Deployment success rate, 97%. Casualty rate among enemy forces, total. Casualty rate among Echo operators. Classified. That last one made his scales prickle. He dug deeper. Found fragmented after-action reports. References to operators designated as expendable assets. Mission parameters that assume total loss, but somehow resulted in objective completion. One report fragment stood out. Operator Cole successfully neutralized hostile command structure despite sustaining injuries incompatible with survival. Extracted 3 days later. Recommending extended medical leave. Injuries incompatible with survival. Extracted 3 days later. Caltrix closed the files. Tomorrow, they would deploy this human against the Vrex. Against the most lethal warriors the galaxy had ever produced. Against an enemy that had crushed the Ascendancy's finest legions and forced a selection trial that scraped the bottom of every military in known space. Tomorrow, they would find out what 70,000 deaths had taught Marcus Cole. Caltrix suspected the Vrex were about to learn something about humanity that the rest of the galaxy had been trying very hard not to think about. Some species evolved to survive. Others learned how to weaponize not surviving. And humanity had apparently decided that death was just another form of training data. The dropship cut through Vrex orbital defenses like they weren't there. Because they weren't there anymore. Cole had mapped every firing solution during the approach and fed coordinates to the Ascendancy gunners with the casual precision of someone ordering breakfast. 12 defense platforms. 11 fell silent before they registered the incoming threat. The 12th got a shot off. Hit the dropship's port stabilizer. Clean through. The kind of damage that meant abort mission for any sane military force. Compensating, the pilot said. Her voice came through tight. Scared. 4 sets of hands on the controls, trying to keep them from corkscrewing into the planet below. Cole unbuckled from his crash harness. Walked to the cockpit. Not rushed. Just purposeful. What are you doing? Caltrix demanded. He was strapped in next to the assault team, scales flashing through stress whites. Sit down before. We're going to roll in 40 seconds, Cole said to the pilot. When we do, cut thrust by 60%. The spin will stabilize us long enough to make orbit. The pilot stared at him. That's not. We'll enter an uncontrolled descent. For 18 seconds. Then, you reignite and use the planet's gravity well to slingshot us toward the primary target. Cole pointed at something on her NAV display. Here. This approach vector. That's suicide. The heat buildup alone will mask our signature from their secondary batteries. Cole tapped another section of the screen. These 3. They're tracking us now, but they're calibrated for standard approach speeds. We go in hot and fast, they'll overshoot. The pilot looked at Caltrix. The commander's eye stalks were rotating in confused circles. How do you know they're tracking protocols? Caltrix asked. Same neural architecture as the Kresh defensive grid. Fought it in sim number 43,000 something. Cole was already moving back to his crash harness. Follow the approach vector or we're dead. Your call. The pilot exchanged one more look with Caltrix. Made a decision. Cut thrust. The dropship rolled. Hard. The kind of maneuver that turned organic tissue into paste if you weren't braced properly. The assault team was screaming. Equipment broke loose. Everything not welded down became a projectile. 18 seconds of controlled falling. Thrust reignited. They shot through the gap in Vrex defenses like threading a needle with a bullet. Touchdown in 90 seconds, the pilot said. Her voice had changed. Still tight, but something else underneath. Respect. Maybe fear. Hard to tell the difference. Primary target coming into range. Cole checked his weapon. Standard Ascendancy plasma rifle. He'd stripped it down and rebuilt it during the flight. Removed the safety interlocks. Disabled the overheat protection. Jury-rigged the power cell to dump its full charge in 3 shots instead of 30. Turned a reliable weapon into a bomb with a trigger. That's not regulation, one of the assault teams said. 3. Different one from the selection. This one wore scout killer markings across her carapace. Regulation assumes you want to survive the engagement, Cole said. You don't. Cole smiled. The empty one. I've got better odds than most. The dropship hit atmosphere. Deceleration slammed everyone against their restraints. Normal landing protocol called for a gentle descent, careful touchdown, secured perimeter before deployment. Cole blew the emergency hatch at 500 meters. Dropped. The ascendancy team watched him fall through the external cameras. Watched him deploy a glide chute at 200 meters. Watched him steer toward the Vrex command structure with the patient focus of a man who'd done this exact drop in simulation so many times it was muscle memory. He landed on the roof of the fortress. Alone. What is he doing? Someone asked. Caltrix was already pulling up tactical displays. The command structure was the most heavily defended position in the Vrex occupation zone. 93 confirmed combatants. Class 5 automated defense grid. Multiple redundant command nodes. Sending one soldier, any soldier, into that was murder disguised as tactics. The external feed showed Cole cutting through the roof access with a plasma torch. Standard door breach technique. Nothing fancy. The doors opened. Cole dropped into the fortress. The feed went dark. Get that visual back, Caltrix ordered. Can't, sir. Interior is shielded. Then get us on the ground. Now. The dropship made final approach. Proper landing this time. The assault team deployed in textbook formation. 43 warriors representing 19 species. The best the Ascendancy could field on short notice. They breached the fortress 3 minutes after Cole had entered. Found the first Vrex in the entrance corridor. Dead. Single shot through the neural cluster. Plasma scoring suggested Cole's jury-rigged rifle. The kind of hit that required knowing exactly where Vrex kept its brain analog and exactly how much penetration power you needed to punch through its chitinous skull. The second Vrex was around the next corner. Dead. Same shot placement. The third through seventh were in the main security hub. All dead. All the same precise hit. He's moving fast, the Threen scout said. Her sensors were tracking residual heat signatures. 17 combatants eliminated in under 3 minutes. That's impossible, Caltrix said. Vrex don't go down easily. There, the fortress shook. Somewhere deeper inside, something exploded. Big. The kind of detonation that meant primary power systems failing catastrophically. The lights went out. Emergency illumination kicked in. Red. Pulsing. The fortress had switched to backup power. Move, Caltrix ordered. Find the human. They pushed deeper. Found more bodies. Vrex warriors in various states of very permanent death. Some killed cleanly. Single shots. Others looked like they'd been used as improvised weapons against each other. One Vrex had been killed with its own severed arm. This is wrong, someone said. Vrex are the apex predators. They don't die like this. They do if someone's been practicing. Cole's voice came through the comm. Conversational. Third level. Command Nexus. Bring demo charges. Caltrix followed the signal. The team moved through corridors that smelled like ozone and burned chitin. Evidence of Cole's passage everywhere. Not a running battle. More like an extermination done at walking speed. They found him in the command Nexus. Standing in the middle of 17 dead Vrex. Not breathing hard. Not injured despite being outnumbered 17-1. His rifle was slagged. The power cell had finally detonated after the third shot like he'd planned, but he'd acquired a Vrex plasma caster and was holding it one-handed like he'd trained on the weapon system his entire life. The command node is there. He pointed at a pulsing organic tech hybrid structure. Blow it, and their entire occupation network goes dark. They're running on distributed intelligence. Kill the Nexus, kill the coordination. How did you know that? Caltrix demanded. Same architecture as the Prelf hive mind system. Fought it in Sim 68,000. Cole dropped the plasma caster. Also, one of them told me before it died. You speak Vrex. No, but I speak please stop ripping my limbs off in about 40 languages. Meaning translates. He stepped over a body. We should move. Reinforcements inbound. About 200 combatants. Maybe 3 minutes out. You want us to retreat? I want you to blow the command node while I buy time. Cole picked up another Vrex weapon. Some kind of blade that hummed with contained energy. unless you brought enough demo charges to collapse the fortress. Then, we can skip the buying time part. The demo specialist stepped forward. Four-armed Chromith carrying enough explosives to level a city block. I can bring it down. Need 7 minutes to set charges. 7 minutes. Cole nodded like the Chromith had given him a grocery list. I can do 7 minutes. Against 200 Rex? The Threen Scout's voice hit frequencies that meant profound disbelief. That's suicide. Probably. Cole moved toward the corridor where sensor data showed the approaching enemy force. But I've died worse ways. This one might actually be interesting. Caltrix made a decision that would haunt him later. Set the charges. Everyone else with me. We support the human. Sir, that's not a debate. The assault team followed Cole to the defensive position he'd already identified. Choke point. Good sight lines. Limited approach vectors. The kind of kill zone you set up when you had time to plan. Cole had mapped it in the 30 seconds between entering the fortress and the Vrex reinforcements arriving. They'll hit us from 3 vectors, he said, pointing at corridors like he was giving a university lecture. Main force here. Flanking elements here and here. Standard Vrex tactical doctrine. I've seen it 73 times in Sim. 73 times, Caltrix repeated. You fought Vrex in your death simulations. Fought everything. Cole was checking the energy blade he'd acquired. Every species the Terran intelligence apparatus had data on. Every combat doctrine. Every weapon system. They rotated scenarios. Kept it random. Made sure we couldn't memorize solutions. But you did. No. Cole's eyes stayed on the approaching signatures. I memorized patterns. Principles. The underlying logic that makes tactics work across different species. He glanced at Caltrix. Vrex are aggressive. They don't retreat, even when they should. They'll push straight into a kill zone if you make it look like a fair fight. How do we make it look fair? You don't. You let them see me. Alone. They'll think it's a trap and hesitate for about 3 seconds. Then, they'll decide it's not a trap because nobody's stupid enough to stand alone against 200 Vrex. His smile came back. Then, they'll charge. That's insane. That's the plan. The Vrex arrived. 200 combat form warriors that had broken 3 Ascendancy legions across 4 systems. Chitinous armor. Neural cluster redundancy. Hive tactical intelligence that made them fight like a single organism. They saw Cole standing in the kill zone. Alone. They hesitated. 3 seconds. Then they charged. Cole opened fire. Not with his acquired weapon. With something he'd built from parts scavenged off dead Vrex. Some kind of improvised fragmentation device that shouldn't have worked, but detonated in a way that suggested he'd calculated blast radius, shrapnel velocity, and optimal detonation point without any external tools. The first wave went down. The second wave climbed over them. The Ascendancy team opened fire from concealment. Coordinated volleys. Proper military execution. The Vrex adapted. Shifted formation. Began flanking. Exactly like Cole said they would. The assault team repositioned. Hit the flanking elements before they could establish angles. The Vrex adapted again. Split into smaller units. Try to overwhelm through speed and numbers. Cole was already moving, not retreating, advancing into the Vrex formation like physics worked differently for him. The energy blade cut through chitin. His movements were efficient. No wasted energy. Every strike placed exactly where Vrex anatomy was weakest. He fought like someone who'd studied Vrex combat forms so thoroughly he could predict their attacks before they committed to them. Because he had. 73 times. Demo charges set. The Chromith called overcome detonation in 60 seconds. Fall back, Caltrix ordered. The assault team began fighting withdrawal. Proper military discipline. Covering fire. Phased retreat. Cole didn't fall back. He kept fighting. Kept moving deeper into the Vrex formation like he was trying to find something. Human, Caltrix shouted. Retreat order. Find a queen, Cole said. His voice came through strained. He'd taken hits. Chitin had better reach than human arms. Every Vrex formation has a queen analog. Kill her, and they lose cohesion. We don't have time. I'll make time. Cole pushed further into the swarm. The Vrex tried to surround him. tried to use their numbers advantage. He let them get close. Then, he detonated the second improvised device he'd been carrying. Shaped charge. Directional blast. It turned the surrounding Vrex into biological shrapnel and cleared enough space for him to see what he was looking for. There, larger than the combat forms. Different chitin coloration. Protected by 6 elite guards. The Queen analog. Cole sprinted. Took 3 hits that should have crippled him. Didn't slow. Hit the Queen's guard formation like a missile. The energy blade cut. The Queen's head separated from her thorax. The Vrex formation stuttered. Lost coordination. Individual warriors started making individual decisions instead of hive tactical ones. It made them beatable. Charges detonating in 10 seconds. The Chromath called. "We need to move." Caltrix grabbed the nearest soldier and ran. The assault team evacuated the fortress. Combat discipline turned into pure survival instinct. They cleared the blast radius with seconds to spare. The charges detonated. The fortress came down like a mountain folding into itself. Command node. Structural supports. Everything. And somewhere inside, buried under collapsing architecture, was Marcus Cole. Dead. Had to be dead. Nobody survived that kind of collapse. The dust settled. Caltrix stared at the rubble. At the grave of the human who just killed 200 Vrex and dismantled their entire command structure. "We need to confirm the kill," someone said. "Make sure the Queen analog is movement." In the rubble. Something shifting, pushing aside debris that should have weighed tons. Cole emerged. He looked like ground meat that had been taught to walk. Armor shredded. Bones clearly broken. Blood covering everything. He was carrying the Queen analog's head. "Confirmed kill," he said. Dropped the head at Caltrix's feet. "Command structure is down." Then he collapsed. The medical team swarmed him. The same physician from his selection trials started scanning. "Stopped. He's alive," she said, like she didn't believe it. Multiple compound fractures. Internal bleeding. Severe neural trauma. "But he's alive." "How?" Caltrix asked. The physician pulled up tissue analysis. "His bones, they've been broken before. Recently, I'm seeing old fracture lines throughout his skeleton. Healed but still visible." She looked at Cole's unconscious form. It's like his body knows how to survive catastrophic damage because it's practiced. "Simulation training," Caltrix said quietly. "What?" "He died 70,000 times in simulation. His body learned to anticipate trauma. Learned to survive past points where it should shut down." Caltrix felt something cold settling in his chest. "We didn't select a warrior. We selected a weapon that humanity spent years teaching how to not die." The physician looked at her scans, at the evidence of systematic destruction and reconstruction written into Cole's cellular structure. "What kind of species does this to their own?" she asked. Caltrix didn't answer. Because he'd seen Earth's military records. Had seen the notation buried in Cole's file. The one that said Echo Division's training had a 98% mortality rate. And they called it acceptable losses. "Get him stabilized," Caltrix ordered. "We deploy again in 6 hours." "Sir, he needs weeks of recovery." "Months." "You can't seriously. The Vrex have 12 more command structures across this system. The human said he can do this." Caltrix looked at Cole. At this broken thing that refused to stay broken. "I believe him." Cole woke up 4 hours later. The medical bay was quiet. Just machines humming. Regeneration fields doing their work. Standard ascendancy medical technology, knitting bones and repairing tissue. Caltrix was sitting beside the recovery pod. "How do you feel?" he asked. Cole took inventory. Moved fingers. Toes. Everything responding. "Functional. You died in there. The fortress collapsed on you." "Yeah." "How did you survive?" Cole was quiet for a long moment. "In simulation number 53,000 something, I got caught in a building collapse. Took me 47 tries to figure out how to position my body so debris would create pockets instead of crushing me flat." He flexed his hand, watching the regenerated tissue move. "Muscle memory. You die enough ways, you learn how to not die the same way twice. That's not survival. That's statistical probability. Same thing when you've got enough data points." Cole sat up. Medical alarm screamed. He ignored them. 6 hours until next deployment. You need rest. I need 6 hours. Cole pulled regeneration leads off. Started getting dressed in a new uniform someone had left nearby. You want the other command structures down or not? I want to understand what I'm deploying. What humanity created when they killed you 70,000 times. Cole stopped. Looked at Caltrix with those empty eyes. You want to understand? His voice went flat. Colder than before. Fina, here's what you need to know. I can't die. Not really. Been dead too many times for it to stick. My body knows how to keep going past every natural stopping point because my species decided that making soldiers who can't quit was worth the cost of breaking them first. Why do you keep fighting then? Why not refuse? Because refusing means someone else goes. Someone who hasn't died enough times to know how to survive it. Cole finished dressing. And because I'm good at this. Really good. Best humanity could make. You wanted a champion who wouldn't break no matter what you threw at him. He smiled. The empty one. Congratulations. You got what you paid for. At what cost? 70,000 deaths. Cole moved toward the door. Stopped. You keep asking me that. Like it matters. Like I still feel things the way normal people do. He looked back. I don't. They trained that out of me around death number 10,000. Everything after that was just refining the weapon. He left. Caltrix sat in the empty medical bay, listening to alarms fade. He pulled up the mission roster. 12 more deployments. 12 more command structures. Each one harder than the last, because the Vrex were learning. Adapting. Bringing in reinforcements. Each one a probable death sentence for whoever went in. And humanity had given him a soldier who treated death sentences like work orders. The assault team deployed again 6 hours later. Different target. Different fortress. Same result. Cole mapped the approach. Identified weak points. Killed his way to the command nexus with the patient efficiency of someone who'd done this exact mission in 73 different simulations. The Ascendancy team followed him through corridors painted with Vrex dead. Watched him fight like something that had forgotten how to be human and learned to be something worse. They hit the 3rd command structure, the 4th, the 5th. By the 7th deployment, the Ascendancy soldiers had stopped questioning Cole's tactics. Stopped flinching when he took hits that should have killed him. Stopped being surprised when he emerged from certain death carrying proof of mission completion. They just followed. On the 9th deployment, things went wrong. The Vrex were ready. They'd been studying human tactics. Learning. They'd set a trap. Cole walked into it anyway. Because he'd seen this trap in simulation. Recognized it. Knew how to turn a trap into a kill zone if you were willing to pay the price. The price was high. 3 Ascendancy soldiers died before Cole could reverse the tactical situation. Died because the Vrex had learned to predict Ascendancy doctrine, but hadn't learned to predict whatever Cole had become. When the mission ended, Cole stood in the ruins of the command structure, holding a piece of shrapnel that had gone through his chest and out his back. Should have killed him. Didn't. He pulled it out. Dropped it. Kept walking. The medical team didn't even look surprised anymore. On the 11th deployment, Caltrix asked the question that had been building since the first mission. What happens when this is over? When the Vrex are defeated? Cole was checking his weapon. Standard pre-mission ritual. I go home. They debrief me. Probably send me back to training command. To die another 70,000 times? If that's what they need. Cole's eyes stayed on his weapon. I'm useful. They'll keep using me until I'm not. You don't have a choice. I stopped having choices around death number 5,000. He loaded the power cell. This is what I am now. What they made me. Can't go back. Wouldn't know how. What were you? Before, Cole paused. For the first time since Caltrix had met him, something that might have been emotion crossed his face. Then it was gone. Don't remember, he said. That person died a long time ago. The 12th deployment was the hardest. The Vrex had consolidated, brought in their best warriors, fortified the last command structure with everything they had. The assault team barely made it through the approach. Lost 12 soldiers in the initial breach. Would have lost more if Cole hadn't been reading the defensive layout like he'd designed it himself. They fought through corridors that ran with blood from 3 different species. pushed toward the command nexus through resistance that should have been impossible to overcome. Cole took point, took fire, took damage that would have dropped a Chromoth. Kept going. They reached the command nexus. Found the Vrex High Commander waiting. Not Queen Analog. Command Cast. The apex of Vrex military hierarchy. It looked at Cole with compound eyes that had seen 1,000 battles across 100 worlds. Human, it said through translation software. You fight well. For prey. Cole smiled. You die well. For predators. The High Commander attacked. It was faster than the combat forms. Stronger. Smarter. It fought with the tactical brilliance of a species that had conquered half the sector through military excellence. Cole fought like someone who died fighting this exact opponent in simulation. Because he had. Simulation number 72,612. He remembered. The blade work. The timing. The moment when the High Commander would overextend because its pride wouldn't let it retreat. There. Cole's blade found the neural cluster. The High Commander fell. The Vrex command network went dark. Across the system, occupation forces lost coordination, started fighting as individuals instead of a unified force. The Ascendancy could win now. All it had cost was 70,000 deaths, and whatever Marcus Cole had been before humanity decided to make him into something else. Caltrix found Cole after the mission ended, sitting alone in the dropship, staring at nothing. We won, Caltrix said. Yeah. The council wants to give you honors. Recognition. Medal of I don't want it. Then what do you want? Cole looked at him. Really looked. And for the first time, Caltrix saw past the empty eyes to whatever was left underneath. I want to remember what it felt like to die the first time, Cole said quietly. When it still meant something. When I was still scared. His voice dropped. But I can't. Don't even remember death number 1 anymore. Just the numbers after. Just the training. Just this. He stood. Walked away. Caltrix watched him go. Watched humanity's gift to the Ascendancy disappear into the crowd of celebrating soldiers who didn't understand what they were cheering for. Later that night, Caltrix pulled up Earth's military database one more time. Found Echo Division's casualty reports. 50,000 candidates selected. 1,000 graduated. 49,000 dead. And the ones who lived? Caltrix read the psychological evaluations. The medical assessments. The notation that appeared in every single Echo operator's file. Subject has lost capacity for fear response. Recommend monitoring for complete empathic shutdown. They weren't soldiers. They were weapons that humanity had built by breaking people until they forgot how to be people. And Cole was the best one they'd ever made. The thought made Caltrix's scales go cold. Because if this was the best, what had the other 49,000 looked like? The council chamber smelled like old stone and older power. Caltrix stood at attention while the Ascendancy's ruling body debated humanity's place in the Galactic Order. 3 weeks since the Vrex command network fell. 3 weeks since Marcus Cole proved that sometimes the most dangerous weapon is the one that doesn't know how to quit. The human success is undeniable, Counselor Verith said. His crystalline form refracted light into uncomfortable angles. Single-handedly dismantled a Vrex occupation that cost us 3 full legions. The tactical value alone, the tactical value concerns me, Counselor Thress interrupted. Her avian features ruffled with agitation. We've analyzed the battle recordings. The human operates with no regard for self-preservation. Zero survival instinct. That's not courage. That's programming. Semantics, Verith replied. Results matter. The Vrex are retreating from 7 systems. Their command structure is shattered. All because of one human. Caltrix listened to them argue. Listened to them reduce Cole to tactical calculations and strategic assets. Listened to them miss the point entirely. Commander Caltrix, the High Counselor said, ancient, wise, species so old they've forgotten what planet they came from. You've worked closely with the human. Your assessment. Caltrix chose his words carefully. The human is effective. Dangerously so. But I recommend we reconsider our alliance with the Terran Protectorate. The chamber went silent. Explain, the High Counselor said. Because what humanity did to create Cole is worse than anything the Vrex have done to us. Caltrix pulled up the files he compiled. 3 weeks of research. 3 weeks of digging through classified Terran military databases. They didn't train him. They broke him. Systematically. 70,000 simulated deaths. Each one designed to teach him how to survive the next one. They turned a human being into a tactical asset by killing him over and over until he forgot how to be afraid of dying. That's their choice, Vareth said. Their methods create soldiers who can't feel fear. Can't feel much of anything. Caltrix let his scales shift to warning red. I've seen Cole fight. He takes hits that should kill him, and keeps moving because his body has been conditioned to treat death as a temporary inconvenience. That's not training. That's torture disguised as military necessity. Yet it works, Thress said quietly. That's what frightens you, isn't it? Not that they do it, but that it's effective. Caltrix didn't answer, because she was right. There's something else you should know, he said instead. Cole isn't unique. I access Terran military records. Echo Division currently has 247 active operators, each one a graduate of the same death simulation program, each one carrying similar psychological profiles. He pulled up the data. Let the Council see. 247 humans who died thousands of times in simulation, who'd been broken down and rebuilt into weapons, who'd traded their humanity for tactical excellence. This is their standard special operations methodology, Caltrix continued. They select candidates, subject them to escalating death scenarios. Most die for real. Mental collapse, suicide, training accidents. The ones who survive become what Cole is. Living weapons who've forgotten how to die permanently. Why? The High Counselor asked. What purpose does this serve? To create soldiers who can do missions that require casualties. Caltrix pulled up mission records. Fragments that had leaked through Terran intelligence security. Echo Division operators have a 100% mission success rate and a 73% casualty rate per deployment. They go into situations that should kill them and somehow complete objectives anyway, because they've died so many times in simulation that dying in reality doesn't trigger normal survival responses. The chamber absorbed this. We wanted humanity's help, Caltrix said. We got it. But I don't think we understand what we've allied ourselves with. A species that systematically destroys its own people to create soldiers who can't be killed through normal means. What does that say about them? What does that say about us for accepting their help? It says they understand war, Vareth replied. Better than we do, apparently. It says they're willing to pay prices we aren't, Thress corrected. That's different from understanding. The High Counselor was quiet, thinking. Ancient mind processing implications. Bring the human here, they said finally. I would speak with him directly. Cole arrived 20 minutes later. He walked into the council chamber like it was just another briefing room. No deference to the power assembled there. No recognition that he stood before the rulers of 43 star systems. He just stood at attention and waited. Marcus Cole, the High Counselor said, the Ascendancy owes you a debt. Your actions have saved millions of lives. We wish to honor you. Not necessary, Cole said. Nevertheless, we've prepared commendations, monetary compensation, land grants on any Ascendancy world of your choosing, a position in our military command structure if you wish to remain with us rather than return to Earth. Cole didn't react to any of it. I appreciate the offer. I decline. May I ask why? Because I'm not a hero. I'm a tool. Cole's voice stayed flat. Empty. Humanity sent me here to do a job. The job's done. I go home now. Commander Caltrix believes your species has committed atrocities in your creation, the High Counselor said. That the simulation training you endured constitutes systematic torture. Cole's expression didn't change. Yeah, probably. Yet you defend this practice? I don't defend anything. Cole met the High Counselor's eyes. I just exist. They made me into this. Can't unmake it. Can't go back. All I can do is be useful. That's what Echo Division is. Useful tools for missions that require someone who can't be broken because they're already broken. That's not a life, Thress said. That's existence. There's a difference. I know. Cole's voice dropped. Quieter. Learned that around death number 15,000. Somewhere between dying of dehydration and dying of vacuum exposure. Figured out that life is the thing that happens when you still care if you wake up tomorrow. He paused. I stopped caring around death 20,000. The chamber went silent. Why continue then? The High Counselor asked. Why not refuse? Desert? End yourself permanently? Because the alternative is someone else goes through the gauntlet. Someone who hasn't died enough times to survive it. Cole's empty eyes swept the council. 49,000 people didn't make it through Echo Division training. 49,000 humans who died for real because they couldn't learn fast enough or adapt quick enough or dissociate far enough from their own mortality. I survived. That means I owe it to the ones who didn't keep being useful. That's survivor's guilt, Galactic said. Not duty. Same thing when you've seen 50,000 people die in your training cohort. Cole shifted his weight. You ask why I continue. That's why. Because if I don't, they died for nothing. And that's worse than being a weapon. The High Counselor studied him. What would you do if we asked humanity to stop this training practice? If we made it a condition of continued alliance? Cole almost smiled. The empty one. They'd tell you no. Politely. Then, they'd remind you that Echo Division operators have been deployed in 47 critical missions across the last decade with 100% success rate. Then, they'd ask if you really want to give that up because it makes you uncomfortable. And if we insisted, they'd still say no, but less politely. Cole's eyes hardened. You don't understand humanity yet. We're not the strongest species, not the smartest, not the fastest or toughest or most numerous. What we are is willing to pay prices nobody else will even consider. 70,000 simulated deaths to create one effective operator? That's just the entry fee. You should see what they do to create ship captains who can fly through black holes. Or diplomats who can negotiate with species that communicate through pain. Or scientists who can think in mathematical dimensions that don't exist. That's madness, Vareth said. That's necessity. Cole turned to face him. You've been fighting the Vrex for what? 6 years? Cost you 3 legions. Thousands of casualties. Retreated from a dozen systems. I solved your Vrex problem in 3 weeks. You know why? Because I died fighting them 73 times in simulation before I ever met one for real. Learned their tactics. Their weaknesses. Their psychological blind spots. Paid that cost in training so I wouldn't have to pay it for real. At the cost of your humanity. Thress said quietly. Yeah. Cole met her eyes. But your civilians didn't have to pay it. Your soldiers didn't have to learn Vrex tactics through trial and error. I took that cost. That's the trade. Humanity provides weapons like me, so other species don't have to break their own people. The chamber absorbed this. We're not altruists, Cole continued. Don't mistake this for kindness. We do this because we're good at it and because it gives us leverage. You need us now. That dependency is strategic. In 50 years, you won't be able to fight major conflicts without Echo Division operators or their equivalents. That's the long game. Humanity embedding itself into galactic military infrastructure by providing capabilities nobody else can or will develop. That's terrifying, Galactic said. That's survival. Cole's voice went even flatter. You know what happens to species that can't adapt? That refuse to pay costs? They die. Get absorbed. Conquered. Extinct. Humanity looked at the galaxy and decided we'd rather be the monsters who survive than the saints who don't. The High Counselor was quiet for a long moment. You said you stopped caring about waking up tomorrow around death 20,000. They said finally. What keeps you going now? Cole thought about it. Really thought. Like nobody had asked him that question in years. Spite, he said. Pure spite. Every mission I survive is proof that they didn't break me completely. Still got enough of the original Marcus Cole left to be angry that they did this to me. That anger is the only thing they couldn't train out. His smile came back. Sharp. Real for the first time. So I keep fighting. Keep completing missions. Keep being exactly what they made me. Because someday I'm going to be standing over the corpse of whatever killed the last Echo Division operator. And I'm going to be the one who proves that their system works. That'll be my revenge. Being better at this than they ever imagined possible. The chamber went silent. Caltrix felt his scales prickle. Because that was the most human thing Cole had said since arriving. Not the tactical brilliance. Not the death count. The sheer stubborn refusal to give up even when giving up was the sane response. You may go, the High Counselor said. The Ascendancy thanks you for your service. Cole saluted. Military precision. Turned. Left. The council chamber stayed silent after he departed. Well, Vareth said eventually. That was enlightening. That was terrifying, Thress corrected. We've allied ourselves with a species that creates soldiers like that deliberately. What does that say about humanity's long-term intentions? It says they're survivors, the High Counselor said, and we should be very careful about becoming dependent on them. But Caltrix was reading the data again. The mission records, the casualty reports, the psychological evaluations. 247 active Echo Division operators. 49,000 dead candidates. 100% mission success rate. 73% casualty rate per deployment. The math was horrifying. But it worked. That night, Caltrix did something he'd been avoiding for weeks. He contacted Earth, requested a meeting with Echo Division Command, got bounced through 7 layers of Terran military bureaucracy before someone finally agreed to a calm link. The face that appeared on his display was human. Female. Middle-aged. Wearing the kind of expression that said she'd seen terrible things and made peace with them decades ago. Commander Caltrix, she said. I'm General Sarah Chun. Echo Division Oversight Command. What can I do for the Ascendancy? I want to understand, Caltrix said. Cole completed his mission. Performed beyond expectations. But I need to understand what humanity has done to create soldiers like him. Chin studied him through the comm link. You've read his file? You know the methodology. I know the mechanics. I don't understand the purpose. Why break your own people like this? Chin was quiet for a moment. Then, she pulled up something on her end. Shared it across the link. Casualty projections. Terran military analysis of various conflict scenarios. Invasion response. System defense. Multi-front wars against species with superior technology. The numbers were bad. Really bad. We're not the strongest species, Chin said. Cole told you that. What he didn't tell you is how much weaker we are. Chromath have 4 times our strength. Silicants can't die conventionally. 3 are faster. Rex are more aggressive. We stack up against most species and lose on pure capabilities. Yet you've survived. Because we're willing to pay costs nobody else will. Chun leaned forward. Those casualty projections assume conventional warfare. Standard military doctrine. Fighting the way everyone else fights. You know what the survival estimate is for Earth if we fought the Vrex straight up? Caltrix didn't want to know. Asked anyway. What? 14%. We lose 86% of our population in a decade-long war that ends with Vrex occupation. Shouldn't let that sink in. Now you want to know why we create Echo Division? Why we kill 50,000 of our own people to create 250 operators who make normal soldiers look like children playing with toy weapons? Tell me. Because those operators change the math. Each one is worth approximately 50,000 conventional soldiers in terms of mission capability and strategic value. They can complete missions that would require entire battalions with 99% casualty rates. They can turn unwinnable scenarios into marginal victories. They're not soldiers. They're tactical inflection points. Chin's expression hardened. And, yes, we break them to create that capability. We break them thoroughly, systematically, because the alternative is extinction. You want to judge us for that? Go ahead. But we'll still be alive to hear the judgment. How many times has Echo Division prevented human extinction? Caltrix asked. Chin pulled up classified files. Showed him. 47 deployments across the last decade. 23 of them marked extinction-level threat prevented. 47 missions. 23 times humanity would have died without Echo Division operators doing things conventional soldiers couldn't. Sweet merciful void, Caltrix whispered. You wanted to understand, Chun said. Here's understanding. We're a species that looked at the galaxy and realized we couldn't survive playing by normal rules. So we created new rules. Rules that say dying 70,000 times in simulation is acceptable if it prevents dying 70 billion times for real. Rules that say breaking people is permissible if it prevents breaking civilizations. That's monstrous. That's survival. Chen met his eyes through the display. And before you get too comfortable judging us, remember something. You asked for our help. You needed a weapon that could stop the Vrex. We provided one. Don't pretend you wouldn't do the same if you had to. The comm link ended. Caltrix sat in the dark, thinking. 3 weeks ago, he thought he understood warfare, understood sacrifice, understood what species would pay for survival. Then, he'd met Marcus Cole, met a human who died 70,000 times and kept getting back up because his species had decided that was preferable to dying once permanently. The door chimed. Caltrix granted access. Cole walked in. General Chen contacted me. Said you called home. I needed to understand. And do you? Caltrix thought about the casualty projections, the extinction level threats, the 23 times humanity would have died without soldiers like Cole. Understand the necessity, he said. I don't have to like it. Join the club. Cole settled into a chair. Most of us don't like it either. We just can't remember why anymore. Chen said Echo Division has prevented 23 extinction events that we know about. Probably more that didn't make the official count. Cole's eyes went distant. Hard to track when you're preventing things that haven't happened yet. How do you keep going? Knowing what they did to you? Knowing you can't ever go back to being normal? Cole was quiet, thinking. You want the honest answer? He said finally. Yes. I don't keep going for humanity, or the mission, or duty. His voice dropped. I keep going because around death 55,000, I realize something. Every time I die in simulation and come back, I'm proving that death isn't final. That you can survive anything if you're stubborn enough. The people who didn't make it through training, they stay dead. But me? His smile came back. Empty. Sharp. I keep coming back. Every single time. That's my victory. Not against the Vrex or whatever enemy they point me at. Against death itself. That's not victory. That's denial. Same thing when you've died enough times. Cole stood. The council approved my return to Earth? Yes. Transport leaves in 6 hours. Good. Cole moved toward the door. Stopped. One more thing. Chen probably didn't mention it, but Echo Division is expanding. We're taking on another 50,000 candidates next cycle. They'll die at the same rate as every other cycle. 98% mortality. But the 250 who survive, they'll be weapons just like me. Tools humanity can deploy against extinction. Why are you telling me this? Because the Ascendancy is going to ask for more operators eventually. You'll need them. And I want you to remember this conversation when you do. Remember that every Echo Division operator you request represents 50,000 people who died to create that one weapon. Remember the cost. His eyes hardened. Then ask for them anyway, because you'll need them more than you need your conscience. He left. Caltrix sat alone in the dark, processing, understanding, hating that he understood. The transport carrying Cole left 6 hours later. Caltrix watched it depart from the observation deck. Watched humanity's weapon return home for reassignment. For the next mission. For whatever extinction level threat required someone who'd forgotten how to stay dead. Commander, his aide said. The Council wants to discuss future cooperation with Terran Special Operations Divisions. Tell them I'll be there in 10 minutes. The aide left. Caltrix pulled up the files one last time. The casualty projections. The mission records. The evidence of what humanity had become to survive in a galaxy that should have killed them 1,000 times over. They weren't the strongest, weren't the fastest, weren't the smartest, but they were the species that looked at death and decided it was just another form of training data that made them the most dangerous thing in known space. The scary part? Caltrix was about to recommend the Ascendancy request 20 more Echo Division operators for an upcoming campaign in the Outer Reaches. Because Chen was right. He wouldn't do the same if he had to. But he'd absolutely accept the weapon someone else had created by doing it. That was the real horror. Not that humanity broke their people to create super soldiers. That the rest of the galaxy would use those soldiers while pretending they didn't know the cost. Caltrix walked to the council chamber, made his recommendations, requested the operators, and hated himself for every word. But he said them anyway, because survival mattered more than conscience. Humanity had taught him that. Epilogue. 3 months later, Cole stood in the simulation chamber. Death number 71,843. Neural attack scenario. Something new. Something they developed based on his performance against the Rex. It killed him in 43 seconds. He reset. Tried again. Death 71,844. Reset. Tried again. In another chamber, 50,000 new candidates were beginning their gauntlet, dying their first deaths, learning what Echo Division would demand from them. Most wouldn't make it. Cole had stopped counting how many would make it. He just focused on his own training, his own deaths, his own transformation into something that couldn't be killed permanently because it had already been killed enough times to learn every possible variation. Death 71,845. Reset. Try again. Somewhere in the back of his mind, the part that was still human enough to be angry, Marcus Cole wondered if he'd ever reach a number high enough to stop counting. Probably not. Death was just data now. And humanity always needed more data. He reset. Tried again. The simulation killed him. He came back. Again. And again. And again. Forever, if that's what it took. Because that's what Echo Division operators did. They died until dying didn't matter anymore. Then, they kept dying anyway, just to prove they could. And ***.